Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, we've got a SensCentral citizen for you. It is Kevin Lee.
And this guy is the ultimate Sens memorabilia collector. He tells us all about his jerseys, his obscure items, and his thoughts on the team today.
Not only that, but just how elite can Jake Sanderson be? All that's coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 857 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Pillar up in the Blue Mountains. A reminder that you can like and subscribe wherever you download your podcast. We are also free and available on YouTube. Today is Wednesday, August 16th, and Pilsy, we're going back to back this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday episodes, and it's awesome to have Kevin Lee on the show. He honestly could have been our first ever SensCentral citizen. This guy is so dialed in, not only as a season ticket holder for over 10 years, but the merch this guy has is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's wild. He showed us before the interview all his jerseys, and he had like 2 full closets just full of jerseys. And I'm sure there's even more stuff that he's collected that we didn't get a chance to see. So absolutely awesome get to talk to Kevin. And I think the thing I like most about Kevin is he's a Sens community guy. He's trying to get fans engaged. He's trying to make opportunities where fans can meet up and all sorts of things. So definitely big shout out to Kevin. And I think people are going to enjoy this SensCentral citizen.
Some more information on a golf tournament coming up in the interview with Kevin. But before we get to that, I have to get into this Jake Sanderson conversation because we just spoke to Kevin about it as well. Like, I also saw our guy, Johnny Abbott, one of the voices of the Ottawa Senators, TSN. Did you hear his quote? And maybe he got radioed, but I loved it coming out of TSN 1200. I didn't love it because I agree necessarily, but I loved it because it's just an amazing hot take for mid-August.
I didn't hear it.
Jake Sanderson and Artem Zub will be the Sens' top pair next season.
It's definitely an interesting take. I think you could even just say Jake Sanderson will be on the top pair. I don't think it's kind of like the days we've said of every single Sens season since Thomas Chabot has been here. Whoever is with Thomas Chabot, whether it's Nikita Zaitsev, Ron Hainsey, take your pick. That's the top pair, right? So
you just said? That was sad.
Yeah, sorry to do that. Sorry to bring you back down like that.
At least give me Dylan DeMello a little bit of love.
Yes, sorry. I was trying to name poor defensive partners. I actually thought Chabot and DeMello were a nice pair. But I think Thomas Chabot and Jacob Chychrun, like that's your star power. Those are your 2 heavy hitters. But Jake Sanderson is just so damn good that I think there's going to get to a point, and it probably and might even happen this season, where no matter who he's playing with, that's your top pair.
For the sake of the Ottawa Senators, I hope that's not the case because they need Jacob Chychrun and Thomas Chabot to be the top pair. They need those guys to each be 50-plus point contributors. They need Chychrun to be a very solid defensive defenseman, complimentary of the way Thomas Chabot likes to kind of be that wild card up the ice, lead the rush, and do what he does best. And you don't want to be holding him back by having him trying to make up for the defensive liabilities of some of the guys that you just mentioned who he's played with in the past. So I think I like it from a hot take perspective. I like what you're saying because Jake Sanderson just is elite in every sense of the word, but they need Jacob Chychrun to be elite. They need Thomas Chabot to be elite. So I'm of the mind where it's a good problem to have, but I'm not going to go so far as to say maybe what he meant. And again, I'm going to give him credit either way because it's a great talker, but maybe that's what he means as the shutdown pair. they're going to be the number one pair going up against the other team's top line, which if Jake Sanderson, wait, I'll ask it to you this way. Is that cutting off Jake Sanderson's potential if you're going to put him in just a shutdown role where he can't spread his wings offensively?
Well, no, because there's a clear guy between Jake Sanderson and Artem Zub. I don't think too many people would say you want Artem Zub carrying the puck up the ice in that situation. Not to say that he's one of those guys that is just the puck's a grenade on a stick and he can't do anything with it. But clearly, Jake Sanderson is going to be the offensive-minded, transitional guy carrying the puck and making that first pass out of the zone. So I think what you're saying, like just minutes-wise and opportunity-wise, you might see that. But I don't see Jake Sanderson losing those opportunities within his own pairing.
And it's almost a good problem because then his next contract, you're like, hey, you didn't play 26, 27. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Either way, he's going to get paid. We talk about a few comparables in our interview with Kevin Lee that's coming up, but I just wanted to mention that the Senators defensive core, which has been known as one of the worst in the National Hockey League over the course of the last half decade, basically since our guy Mark Mathot left and Erik Karlsson soon followed behind, they've been working to get to the point now where they have 3 elite defensemen, and who knows, hopefully a bounce back for Artem Zuber. It can be that number 4, sturdy, stay-at-home defenseman, physical, annoying to play against, and then Branny, JBD, Clevin, last
guy Hammer.
Hey, Travis, happy birthday, Travis Hamonic, too, eh? Kid turned 34 today, 33, I think. What do you think? How old's Travis Hamonic?
I'm going to say 33.
He is turned 33 today. There you go. So 1990, baby. And again, I don't think you're going to see Travis Hamonic play 60 or more games. I think 50 is probably the sweet spot for him. However many games Nick Holden played last year, despite those injuries at the end, probably gave him a few extra. 65 games for Nick Holden last year. I think if you see Travis Hamonic around that number, maybe a little bit less, this D-core should be looking pretty nice. And Jake Sanderson, obviously, a huge part of it. We'll have plenty of time to discuss Sanderson more and a potential next contract throughout the next weeks, months, as we get into our organizational value rankings. Lots coming up leading into the season, and we'll have more to chat about on the other side. But for now, let's get to our SensCentral Citizen with Kevin Lee right after a quick word from one of our favorite sponsors.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. You guys know that they are the trusted online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. You also should know that they are North America's #1 sportsbook. I love FanDuel. That's the sportsbook app that I use. It's the best app as far as I'm concerned. It's simple, it's safe, secure, easy to use. They've got so many fun parlays, promotions. You can get any sort of bets, whether it's futures, you want to hit the money line, you want to hit the spread, you want to hit the over-under, you want to parlay those. Lots of things you can do at FanDuel. And if you're new, you can take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. So that's $20. You'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, and you get that money instantly. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. Visit the GLEBE Central Pub in the heart of the Glebe at 779 Bank Street and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. A few great events coming up at the GLEBE Central Pub where they always make sure to take care of their own. On game days, Red Blacks game days at Lansdowne, 825 Overflow Rear View Pilsner will be their game day special. It's right on the way to Lansdowne. Go check them out. And then on August 26th, Allaire and Dunn is performing at the Glebe Central Pub. No cover, no minimum spend, just great music and great vibes. That's
nice.
9 p.m. on August 26th. And getting ahead of the game, if you're into golf, the 4-person scramble will be happening October 14th. Of course, we got something going on October 14th. Glebe Central Pub might be a part of that too, but we do have the 4-person scramble October 14th. It's being held at Anderson Links Golf Club. Also, this Friday night, there will be an Atletico Ottawa viewing party. Beer, snacks, and soccer fans can be found at the Glebe Central Pub. The Sens bus coming back soon, but for now, head down to the Glebe Central Pub at 779 Bank Street and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, let's get to this week's SensCentral Citizen. Here is Kevin Lee. All right, we're now very pleased to welcome on this week's SensCentral citizen. We're bringing on Kevin Lee. You already follow Kevin on Twitter at BringBackLee. He's a season ticket holder and part-time memorabilia collector, but I would hazard to argue that it's a part-time hobby because if you can see behind him, and we just got the exclusive tour, Kevin, you are a full-time memorabilia collector. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been too long.
It has been way too long, and it's one of the rare occasions where we've already gotten the chance to meet you in person at a few of the SensCentral meetups. We got to see you at the bar after one of the Sens games. Might have been the Chris Neal game there. When did you become a season ticket holder, Kevin?
I became a season ticket holder around 2010. So pretty much once I got my first co-op job in university, obviously gives you a little bit of spending cash. Started with a 10-game package, moved up to a half season, and then where I am now with a full season. So just the slow upgrades over time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I've been saying to Ross every week, we're like, oh, who should we have as a citizen? Who should we have as a citizen? And I'm like, man, it is wild that we haven't had Kevin Lee on yet. So I'm glad we finally get to do this. And you're the ultimate Sens memorabilia collector guy, at least that I know. You can see if you're watching on YouTube, Kevin's got 3 jerseys behind him. Like Ross mentioned, he showed us a whole lot more. When did you mentioned you became a season ticket holder in 2010, but when did you really start getting into collecting memorabilia, and when did that really become something that you ended up loving?
I think it's more of when I was a kid. I always thought like Sens memorabilia looked super awesome. Obviously, we had the 2D logo back then as well, and it still looked like a super cool logo back then. It hasn't changed. But obviously, when you're a kid, you don't have the disposable income to spend on memorabilia. And then I think I just started to overcompensate once I started to get that disposable income. And then it's just gone out of control since. So probably around that same time I got season tickets is when I started to really jump into the memorabilia game. And now it's just, like you said, full-time hobby of searching for deals and seeing what's out there.
What's your favorite piece of memorabilia?
That's a tough one, but it probably has to be, especially after this playoffs, Mark Stone's first NHL game-worn jersey. So the one he wore, number 60, in his NHL debut against the Rangers, where he got that assist off the Spezza goal.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I mean, hey, we've gone, 4 questions in, Ross, and we haven't asked our classic SensCentral citizen question. So I'll get it going here. We forgot how to do this apparently. But Kevin, how did you become an Ottawa Senators fan?
So I actually started, probably as a lot of kids did, as a Mighty Ducks fan. Obviously, you had the movies, the awesome logo. And then I was a big fan of Paul Kariya as a kid, one of the few Asian players in the league. And so obviously followed them for a bit. But then obviously when you live in Ottawa, you're going to get exposed to the Senators. And when they started making their playoff runs in the late 90s, early 2000s, started following them more closely. Probably not like a super diehard fan. Like when we lost all those Leafs series, I was bummed out for like the day. But next day I was okay. If it happened like today, you're probably bummed out the entire summer and just waiting for next season. So I'd say probably around 2007, after the finals run, is when I started to get a lot more engaged, start following like the prospect pool. And then obviously as the years have grown by and the social media community has grown, it's just become a full-time thing now where following the team closely day to day.
Yeah, I mean, that's right around the time where I became a Sens fan, when you were talking like 06, 07, getting serious about it. So what's your first memory of being a Sens fan? Like, is there a game that you went to, like a live experience, a game you were watching, a moment, a player? Like, what's your first thing that really kind of struck home to you?
So my earliest memory is a pretty weak memory. I don't have like full recollection of it, but my dad used to get box tickets through his work back in like probably 97, 98, give or take. Okay. And the only thing I can remember about being in that box is I appreciated the food a lot more than the actual game at the time. But the one thing that somehow stuck in my brain was I didn't even know what a power play was back then, but the Sens got a power play, and all I heard was another guy in the box go, "Not another power play." I guess our power play stunk a bit maybe in 97, 98, but for some reason, that's the earliest memory that was just stuck in my head.
More of a penalty kill guy, eh?
Yeah.
Throughout the years. Now, I got to get back on the memorabilia trade. We do want your thoughts on the Senators today, but we'll save that a little bit later, because when I asked your favorite piece of memorabilia, game-worn jersey, you showed us in the closet, ton of game-worn jerseys. Has that always been like the top of the collector pyramid? that you're always looking for? Like, you have people that collect bobbleheads, you have collected maybe like jersey patches, but for you, has it always been game worn jerseys that you appreciate the most?
I think that was because obviously game worn jerseys are a bit on the pricier side. So I think that was obviously one of like the higher goals I had as a kid, is like always be super cool though. And like one of those jerseys that they're wearing on the ice. Obviously, even now I can't really compete with the high end spenders. So like you'll never see like a Tim Stützle or a Claude Giroux game worn jersey in my closet. Those things are probably going to go for like 2,000, 4,000, maybe 5,000, even depending on how the auctions go. Like they go for a lot. Same with like Kachuk, obviously. So I try to keep it to the rookies and then just pray they improve.
But that's kind of cool. It's almost like
an investment.
An investment. You can watch kind of the stocks go up and down, but at the same time, it doesn't take long to talk to you, realize you're a diehard fan of the team. And some of those obscure jerseys are the ones that kind of might mean the most to you over the years, whether or not they succeed, like the Brampton Beast Joey Decord jersey you showed us you have in there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's looking like you might be in the NHL this year. So value on that one might start to go up.
Oh, one way.
There you go. Now, so you obviously love collecting memorabilia, but are you like buying and selling and flipping stuff? Like, are you seeing something at a good price and being like, oh man, I can flip that for more, or like they're really undervaluing this? Or do you get into that, or it's more just, hey, I like this stuff, I want to collect it, I want to keep it?
I'm pretty much the latter. So anything I buy, I keep. I don't think I've really flipped much of my collection. Though, to your point, I do. When I buy things, I tend to look at it from that view. Yeah. Can I reflip this at least at the same price, like 10 years down the road, just to give me that exit if I ever decide to clear out the collection?
Or if you run out of room in your house.
I feel like that is going to happen at some point. So that is probably going to be the end result of when I need to start clearing out some space.
Yeah.
How many pieces of memorabilia do you think you own right now?
Oh, God. It's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it's reaching close to 4 digits, like just between like bobbleheads, autographed items, just all the MISC stuff I've got lying around. I've got a lot of random stuff. Like probably a couple months ago, I picked up an unopened package of, was it 92-93 is the first season, I think?
Yep.
Unopened package of season tickets. So it's like the full set of season tickets from 92-93
cool.
that haven't been torn apart.
What would that go for?
I have no idea, to be honest. It's such like, those are the things I like to track down, actually, like really unique items where there's maybe only like a couple of them like that have ever surfaced. So like I have zero clue what that would go for, given like I think I've only seen one other version of that pop up in like last 20 years.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. Now, what is your most obscure memorabilia? Like not even, I'm not talking like obscure name or player, but just like, I don't know, like a Dominic Hasek toothbrush or something crazy like that.
That's a tough one. Actually, I did flip. So I did get rid of this because there was really no spot to display it or keep it. Okay. I did have Alfredson's shoulder pads at one point. That was pretty obscure. The only reason you would know is his because they put the numbers on all the equipment.
Right.
So I had the number 11 right dead in center.
That's hilarious. Hey, if they're playing a tough game that night, where you throw them on?
I should have just started to wear them. Maybe it would have improved my game.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, there's an idea. I got Matt Hunwick's old skates. They don't do the trick. I always said, though, whenever I was buying it, it would be like the used, the Maple Leafs. I think the Senators have it as well. Yeah. But where they sell it, they'll used equipment based on the player, not the make. So I was like, no, give me the worst player, but the best skates. And Hunwick sat in the press box half that year, so they're probably not even broken in that well.
That's a steal. That's a good view on it.
So would you be first in line at the end of the season when they do those used equipment sales as well?
Yeah, so they actually do it at FanFest in September.
Right.
So last year, I think I got there probably like an hour and a half early, and I was like 7th or 8th in line. So early enough, not early enough to grab some of the good stuff. I did miss out on trying to grab Kachuk's training camp jersey. Somebody in front of me just grabbed it. So
was that with 27, or was that that might have even been before that? I think that was his development camp, right when he got drafted.
Maybe this is development camp, yeah. But so maybe this year I have to go 2 hours early.
And do they have that just at the CTC?
Yep, they set up the pretty much the equivalent to like that beer tent they do during the warm days.
Cool.
They just do it under there.
Cool. Okay, sweet. What have you picked up from that? We heard what you missed out on, but what have you gotten? Any steals from there?
Oh yeah, last year they were clearing out all the like 3D logo stuff for like $1. Like a lot of the old just like random stuff. So I got like the giant Phillips retirement banner for $1. They were selling all their training camp jerseys with the 3D logo for $30, I think. So I did get a couple of good guys. I got like Pinto, Cruikshank, Lodine, JBD, a lot of the, like I said, up and comers, and you just hope they make it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one thing that I appreciate about you, Kevin, is you're always sharing good deals as well. Like I got, I've moved my jersey, but the reverse retro jersey that I had hanging up the wall, it's now in the process of at my other house. But you tweeted out, "Hey guys, massive sale on this jersey, like get on it now. It ends this way," and you give like all the details and the link and stuff. So I'm sure I'm not the only Sens fan that appreciates you tweeting out those specials and those deals. So thank you.
Hope you're enjoying our chat with Kevin. We'll get right back to it. But first, a word from our friends at Shawarma Palace. Pilsy, I know you're a rap guy, so tell me the feelings, the emotions that you go through while you're peeling back the first layer of the Shawarma Palace sandwich.
Well, right off the top, Ross, I love that, hey, everyone that works there, they're professionals at Shawarma Palace, and that wrap is always perfectly wrapped. None of this falling apart on your hand or the bottoms getting out from under you. No. It's always nice and tight, nice and crispy. And speaking of crispy, I love all the pickled veg in there, Ross, because I'm a big texture guy. So obviously the flavor of Shawarma Palace is awesome, but I love those crunchy pickled turnips in there. Gives it a little extra bite to it. So it's hard. I know you love the platters, but it's hard for me to get away from the wraps because they're just so good.
I love the platters. I get the extra garlic. I get the chicken. Make sure, the rice is all fluffy, great. They get the fresh salad in there. They got the hummus. They got the pita served with it. Fresh in-house pita. And you can find Shawarma Palace at any of their 7 locations across Ottawa. Reminder, Shawarma Palace has been the spot for shawarma in Ottawa since 1997. So follow them, Shawarma Palace Ottawa, on Instagram. Make sure you check out all their 7 locations. You can also order them exclusively on Uber Eats. So go eat like a royal today. Go eat at Shawarma Palace. All right, now back to this week's SensCentral Citizen. And if you aren't familiar with Kevin Lee, maybe you're not on Twitter as often, Kevin also is a great community builder. Right now, they have 2 days left of registration. So if you want to go meet a lot of people from Sens Twitter, they have a Twitter scramble going on at the Canadian Golf and Country Club on August 29th. We wish we could be there. If it weren't for the wedding and everything going on here, we would be in Ottawa at the end of the month, but we'll see at the home opener for sure, Kevin. But what a cool idea. You got a barbecue lunch coming up afterwards. So head over, bring back Lee on Twitter, and you can find the information to go be a part of the community that Sens Twitter has. Sens community in general in the summer, always good to get the hot takes flying before the season starts, and love that you put that together. Where'd that idea come from, Kevin? Because if I remember correctly, this isn't the first time that you've been organizing events around with other community builders on Sens Twitter.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like in the past, I've definitely organized we call it the Summer Sens Fan Fest, and we held it in McLaren's. And it was just kind of like, we get like a couple guest speakers. Like one year we got Bruce Firestone, and it was super cool just hearing the behind the scenes stories. And then obviously we went into that lull of the downward years where people kind of just wanted the summer to go by as fast as possible. And let's just get through this rebuild period. And now we're kind of back on the up and up. And I think we're starting to see now where we're doing a lot more in-person events and group meetups, and the fan base is just super involved now. So I think we're only going to see that grow over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen you at a bunch of our meetups as well. So it's very clear that you're engaged with the Sens Twitter community, and yeah, just trying to make it a better place to be a Sens fan. So we appreciate that. And hopefully we can make it out to one of your next events.
For sure.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. And also, with that being said, you're talking about the lead up to the season, the engagements all the time. How you feeling about the team, Kevin? You feeling good?
It's funny. I think this is the most cautionary I've seen the fan base be in the last couple of years. Usually the fan base is all, we're making playoffs 100%. This is the greatest offseason ever, especially last year. And I wouldn't even argue. I would say this version of the team is far superior than the one we had coming into training camp last year. Like, this is probably the best defensive core we've had in arguably the entire franchise history, right?
Yeah, honestly.
And then if you assume that you're going to still get continuous growth from all the young players, Stützle, Kachuk, Norris, Batherson, it's a no-brainer that this is a playoff team. I think your only worry, obviously, is health.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like so much of it, like I think I'm with you. Like I start looking at this team, I'm like, oh man, they're so good. But we saw how quickly the injury dominoes can fall on this team last year. But there's a lot more depth on this team this year. What was your favorite move from this offseason? Or maybe let me reword it as, what do you think the most impactful move will be from this offseason?
I think it's got to be goaltending right now. Like, I'm sure you've heard on Twitter that like it looks like Forsberg's already skating at the Sens Flex, which is a great sign, right? Like a lot of people were worried he wouldn't be getting in the skates until close to training camp, so he should be roaring the go. And then you toss Korpisalo in there, and I think we have a good 1-2 punch. Like no matter what your view is on Korpisalo and like how he's going to do like over the long run, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer that he's going to be an improvement on Talbot, right?
Yep.
Like the way I've been telling people is I like the signing because we're getting a goalie that's numbers who have been improving over the years. Whereas like when we got Murray and Talbot, you could clearly see in their numbers they were declining, right? So let's just hope it works out this time.
Yeah, I like the way that you phrased that, because it was almost like reclamation projects in terms of the Matt Murray more so, and then Cam Talbot at 35 years old. Like, all right, let's get a stopgap in here for 1 year, and then he's injured half the year, can never really find a way to get going. I think it was the first preseason game that he cracked his rib. He only scheduled to play half the game, and you're like, oh my goodness, here we go. But with Korpisalo, I'm a huge believer, and I'm forgetting what the comparable was, but with the hip injuries that he had, finally took the right surgery, took the time to heal, and then came back, played on an awful defensive team in Columbus, great numbers, put up equally amazing numbers on a really good defensive team. So I think that shows you he's not as much of a system guy as he is athletic. And you don't even see that as much. Maybe Craig Anderson, the last guy Sens fans have seen in the pipes, where it's like all athleticism and reading the game and being able to kind of be more active. And I think that that's an exciting recipe for fans as well, because you're not just relying, like Matt Murray would just go into the butterfly and be like, all right, hope it hits me. And then I hope the rebound hits me too. Otherwise I might be in trouble. But now we're going to get a goalie who I think is going to command the crease with his athleticism, and hopefully, knock on wood, can stay healthy as well. The D-core now, let's move our way up, Kevin, because Jake Sanderson. Do you have any, speaking of up-and-comers, were you able to get your hands on any Sanderson memorabilia?
I did. I actually got one on my desk right here. I can show you.
Yes.
Ooh, let's go.
Young Guns.
Sanderson Young Gun rookie card out of the exclusive. So there's only 100 of those. So I'm banking that he's going to work out, because I did have to pay a pretty penny for that one.
So what do you think the pretty penny they're going to have to pay him will be after this season?
Oh, that's a big one. Like,
would you sell your card to help out?
Like, do you feel like, I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think it's better to give the bridge contract, or would you go straight for an 8-year?
Well, I actually talked about this on yesterday's show. I think I will be shocked if Jake Sanderson goes long-term, just because I think all these young up-and-coming stars, their agents are going to be telling them, hey, just hold out, get to UFA, get the leverage, and then the TV deal is going to be in. Hopefully the bounce back from the COVID years is going to help the salary cap, and you can command a lot bigger dollar. So I think what's going to end up happening is maybe kind of a 4 or 5 year deal. Like how many years does Sanderson need to get to UFA?
Oh, probably 5. I think it's 8 total, and he's going into year 2. Well, I guess year 3. I don't know how it works with the
yeah. I always get confused with that. But whatever it is to get him to UFA, I think that's what they'll do, because obviously the Sens want him long term, and I think Sanderson's going to want to stay here. But I don't think he'll lock into an 8-year deal. Plus, the Ottawa Senators already have so many guys locked up. It's obviously, I believe in Jake Sanderson, and if you can sign him sign him as long as you can is my theory. But I don't think that he'll be going the long-term, at least max long-term route right away.
6 years until he gets to his UFA year 20.
I mean, I'd be down for a 6-year deal. Yeah.
I think you have to at least have the 1 year grace period, but we saw that at that point, all leverage is gone, right? We saw that with the Brinket, where
that's the thing. It's not as much leverage as it's kind of perceived to be, right?
That's why I'd almost say you either do 3 or 7+, and that way you're buying up UFA years. I just don't.
If you're the team, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you're the team, that's where you go. But even, I mean, if you're Jake Sanderson, the 3-year deal is not the worst. You can be able to kind of still take the next step, and then you can push, be like, well, now I'm only going to sign a 2-year deal.
Yep.
Right. And right now there's 3 years left until he gets to arbitration, which you never want to do that with one of your star players. No. But I am excited to see what's next. Like, what do you think the ceiling could be for Jake Sanderson? Is he going to be just a great gap control, great transition defenseman, great stick, never takes penalties? Or do you think that there could be 50-point plus potential offensively as well?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I would say if he didn't have Chabot and Chychrun blocking his way up the power play chain, this guy could easily be like a 50-point. Now the question is, like, how much does he have to do to surpass those two and start getting like power play one time, right? Like, that's gonna potentially hurt us in negotiations, right? Like, he knows he's probably better than what his point total is showing, right?
Yep.
It's gonna be interesting to see how his career works out, because he might end up being the, I'm not gonna say the best defenseman, because we did have Carlson, 2-time winner on our team. That's going to be a pretty high bar to beat, but he might become like the best overall when you take in the like offensive and defensive side defenseman as a Senator.
But so what I would say is there's precedent that these types of defensemen, unless they can pop offensively, are going to be underpaid. Even Chychrun, when he signed that deal at $4.6 million, right? You look at Jacob Slavin's contract was 5.3. Like, these aren't the types of defensemen that are going to break the bank unless they're putting up 60, 65, 70 points. So I think if he stays at a 40-point defender, but with all of the other assets that he brings, you're looking at a great defenseman, but maybe one that you're going to be able to sneak in under what market value might be for them. So I'm really ecstatic to see, or curious, because the happiness will depend on what they end up signing him for. But if they could find a way to give him the old Tim Stützle in terms of signing him before this season, power to them. But again, not in a rush, because again, I don't think he's going to explode 50, 60 points. Who did you vote for, Kevin? Final question for me, and really appreciate you doing this. It's awesome to see. And over the course of the next little while, I want to see more of your memorabilia pop up on Twitter, because especially in the off season, it's always really fun to keep an eye and watch those. But we put a poll up on Twitter at SensCentral a little while ago, which defenseman is going to lead the team in scoring. And the results were like 33, 32, 31%, Chychrun, Chabot, or Sanderson. Who do you have as your answer for that question?
I think I voted Chabot for that one, just because I'm under the assumption that DJ Smith is still going to go to him as his number one power play option. Like, he's the de facto number one. I think we are going to see a bounce back season from him, hopefully. So I see it being very difficult for Chychrun and Sanderson to displace him, just with the amount of power play points he's probably going to get.
Yeah, I think I voted Chabot as well. Yeah, I think I can see that. Now, like, beyond, I think that's a whole different question. But next season, I think it'll still be Chabot. Now, final question for me is, we talked about the defense, the goaltending. So I want to know a little bit about what you think about the forwards. Something I've been kind of nervous about is, and I want to get your opinion on this, is do you think maybe this forward group is too offensively loaded? Like, are we going to get into a situation where the Sens are going to have to outscore all their problems? Like, sure, last year was the bottom six can't score. You bring in some guys that can score, that can be in your bottom six now. Do you think this team is spread out enough role-wise up front, or do you think they're going to score so many damn goals it doesn't matter?
When you look at our roster, I fully agree. I think this is, when you look at it, our team at the end of the day, that's where it's going to be tough to be like a Stanley Cup winning team, arguably, when you look at the roster, because this is an offensive-minded team.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have many of like the Kachuk-type players that are going to bang both ways, win the battles in the corners. We're just going to try to outscore the opposition. Even when you look at our D-line, right, you got Chychrun, Chabot, both more offensive-minded defensemen. Then there's Sanderson. I think you can give him defensive credit, but he's also has like the offensive talent. This is very much a team that I think is going to have to outscore the opposition versus trying to grind out those 1-0, 2-1 wins.
Hey, but that's what the fans want to see.
It's exciting. Yeah, you won't catch me complaining. That's for sure.
But like I said yesterday, the key is going to be to, when you get up 2 or 3 goals, like how frustrating was that last year, Kevin, where no lead was safe. It felt like at the blink of an eye, the other team could just go and rattle off 2 or 3 goals.
That's where I think goaltending will be interesting this year, because obviously Talbot did not have the strongest year last year. Like, how many back-breaking goals were there? We could see like the team's morale just deflate after a goal, knowing if we just allow a shot on this guy, there's a chance any shot can go in.
What's the worst goal he let in?
I think I've already wiped out like all memory of Talbot from my brain.
How about when he shot the puck right into the Red Wings player on New Year's Eve? We pushed back our plans for that game. And Talbot had to just put one in. That's the only time the Red Wings have beaten Ottawa in their last 11 head-to-head meetings.
Oh, wow.
And
But yeah, like team confidence in the goalie goes a long way. Just look at like the 2016-17 run with like Anderson in net.
Yeah.
I think I posted a tweet a couple of days ago where they won that, was it the 2-1 game against Pittsburgh, I think? Or was it 1-0? I think 2-1.
Which
Game 6?
Game 6 was 2-1.
2-1. And Anderson made 45 saves.
Yeah.
Like, can we even imagine our goalies doing that right now?
Never.
Like, it's one of those things where can you imagine if we had Craig Anderson with the current roster we have now?
Yeah.
Like, look at the defensive core he carried back then.
For real.
It's night and day to what we have now. Like, we have Craig Anderson that I think we're a Stanley Cup contender immediately. It's really bad.
Final question, and I need your answer on this. Craig Anderson, Ring of Honor, when?
As soon as possible. Like,
Nice.
they got to start filling that thing out. Like, right now, we got Wade Redden and Brian Murray. I have to imagine with new ownership, we might see him start to, like, how do we solidify this Ring of Honor? How do we make it a bigger thing?
Danny Heatley.
I think the unfortunate thing is it was clearly built as, I think, a precursor to a new building. Because you look at the Ring of Honor right now, it's just those giant cement pillars in the 400 level with just a basic vinyl like layer of the person on it.
You need binoculars to see it from ice level.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think like their whole plan was probably in the new arena, we're going to build like a fancy section in the arena for the Ring of Honor where it can become like a photo op place for fans to take selfies and whatnot with like whatever, maybe some like Roman looking actual pillars that have style, not just those square cement rectangles of whatever they are. So we'll have to wait and see. I think those are the new arenas not looking like it's going to come as soon as we hoped.
Yeah, it might be a while. Now, my final question, and not really a question, but I like to do this. Open the floor to you, Kevin. Did we miss anything, any stories, any tidbits that you wanted to get out in this interview that we didn't hit on? I hate it when citizens message us after and they're like, oh, I didn't get to talk about this or I forgot about this. So floor is yours.
No, I think you covered it all. I'm definitely going to, like you guys mentioned, I'll try to find any obscure Sens merch in my collection, share on my Twitter.
Nice.
I'm sure there's some I just can't think of off the top of my head. And I'm definitely looking forward to catching you guys at the home opener.
Absolutely. What else on your desk? Because he just was able to pull up the Jake Sanderson rookie card.
Only a couple things. So I just picked up this Kachuk auto, nothing fancy.
Nice.
But then I'm sure some other fans picked this up. This was a cool thing they offered after Neil's retirement ceremony. If you bought a card pack at the Sens game, they gave you an oversized card with Neil's autograph, and I think they only made 500 of these. So
that's sick.
That was pretty cool. That was a really fun ceremony, actually.
That was so cool.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
If it weren't for the last 5 minutes of the game, that was a 10 out of 10 night, right? Brady got a huge hit. Then he scored the goal, did the Chris Neil, the arms up, and they just couldn't.
Did we win the Phillips retirement game? Because I know we lost the Alfred.
Ross was there. Yeah.
Okay, so we did win one at least.
Yeah, they scored the fastest 4 goals in Sens history was in that game. They scored like 4 goals in 5 minutes.
It ended up being 7-4 win or something wild like that.
7-4 exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly how you honor Phillips, with a high scoring offensive affair.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Kevin, really appreciate it. Everyone who isn't already, make sure you go on Twitter and follow Bring Back Lee. Kevin, really appreciate this. You're a friend of the show, and we already look forward, like you said, to see you at the home opener in October.
Take care, guys.
All right, Pilsy. Hope everyone enjoyed our SensCentral citizen this week. Make sure you're following him on Twitter at Bring Back Lee. Before we go, Pilsy, we have some amazing news, some great stick taps to give out for a friend of the show, Cheryl Pounder, prominently featured in the NHL 24 video game. They just put out a release today. It's coming out in October, but Cheryl, friend of the show, 4-time guest, recurring guest, awesome person, even better broadcaster, will be doing the colored commentary in the game.
Oh, I'm so excited for that. Look, I was saying this to you yesterday, Ross. NHL 23 kind of missed the mark for me. One of my least played NHL games. I think the creators, they realized that and they said, hey, we got to come back with a bang. We got to freshen things up. And you love seeing women broadcasters in sports getting more recognized, and getting on Chell video game is awesome. And no one deserves it more than Cheryl Pounder, in my opinion. She's, as Sens fans know, she's one of the best. So I'm so excited for Cheryl and can't wait to have her on the show to talk about that experience.
Yeah, it had to be grueling hours. Think of all the names that are in that game. Not only at NHL, AHL, ECHL, Sweden, Finland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Germany, all these different countries have their teams, the Legends teams. You're just naming different things, all the different outcomes that can happen from each play in hockey.
Yep.
It seems like it's a grueling, like year-long activity to be able to put all that back together. But it'll be great to have a new voice in the game as well. I know Ray Ferraro did great for the amount of years he was doing it. I don't know if he was in it last year even, or if they mixed it up, but I'm ecstatic for Cheryl Pounder to get that opportunity. Obviously a decorated career as a player herself, and now as a broadcaster. Whenever she's on the TSN broadcast, like, you just get fired up. The best. So stick taps to her. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
No final thoughts for me. No embarrassing travel stories to hit on or anything like that. So we can just roll through.
Nope. I was actually smiling because I have some final thoughts. We talked about the wedding yesterday. If you want to hear about that, you can go check out the end of yesterday's show. But Pilsy's eventful weekend actually started before he left home, or dare I say left the airport.
Oh, man, I'm such a goofball. So I get to the airport. Simone and I, my girlfriend, get to the airport, and we're feeling good. You know, it's a nice day. We got our luggage. We're on time. Everything's going to be good. And forgot my wedding party specific suit that I needed for this wedding. Though the one, honestly, Ross, the only thing I truly needed to bring with me, like everything else you can figure out if you don't have it, but that suit I bought for this wedding, I matched exactly what you wanted from me, and forgot it at home as I got to the airport. So quickly had to order another flight so Simone could go back, get my suit, and then hop on another flight to get to Winnipeg later. Shout out Simone, saved the day on that one. But unfortunately, Ross, that's not the first time I forgot my luggage and didn't realize till I got to the airport. So this is a recurring theme for me. So yeah, look, imagine I didn't have that suit. I wouldn't look as good as I did, and I wouldn't have matched Ross's request. So absolutely very happy that it ended up working out.
The funniest part, though, is that the suits weren't that color. The lighting in the van was a little different. But
yeah, it makes them look purple. But I had the sharp black, and you had the nice charcoal.
Hey, when you show up with your suit, though, you're always feeling good. Always feeling good. More content will come out from the wedding over the next little while, but an absolute blast. And yeah, I got a text at 7:04 a.m. saying, "Hey, ... call me when you get this." And I knew something was wrong, Pilsy, and I was up. I was like briefly up, and I was like, nope, this will sort itself out. I'll call him at 9.
Yeah, well, because I was worried that we weren't going to get flights going. So I was calling to be like, hey, how late can I push it to the rehearsal dinner? Because I might have screwed up.
Give me a call when you wake up, 7:08 a.m.
It ended up working out.
I forgot my suit at home. That's the best. So hey, it wouldn't be a weekend earned unless it was, there was a bit of challenge along the way. So
yeah, some adversity along the way makes us all stronger.
It was basically, we had our Sens November from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then we had like the early March when they traded for Chicker and 5 straight wins was the weekend. So no, glad we made it work. All good. And an elite story to kick off the weekend. And you ended up getting in same time as a few other buddies. So I was able to pick you up at the airport and away we went from there. So yeah, once I get some photos, we had a couple of videographers there, and I'm sure there'll be some embarrassing Pilsy moments there on the dance floor. So we'll get to all those as time comes. Again, appreciate all the kind words, and it's back. It's showtime. It's time to get SensCentral back rolling. Loved having Kevin Lee on today. Working on a guest for Friday. Hopefully we can bring that to you. And then, man, we are less than a month away before rookies report to training camp. This season matters. There's no excuses, and we will be with you every step of the way. So make sure you're following on Twitter at SensCentral, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Pillar, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.